Good morning, and welcome to All People's Church Unitarian Universalist, formerly known as First Jefferson.
Thank you.
My name is Mary Kerwin, and I'll be serving as your co-celebrant for worship today. We're midway through the summer and also midway through our interim period between ministers since Reverend Annie's departure in June. Our president, Roy Brake, tells me that the board and search committee are very close to making an announcement. So we're staying tuned for that news. Today, we're happy to have Paul Shatman in the pulpit as co-celebrant and guest speaker. One of Reverend Annie's parting gifts to us was her workshop conducted on how to write a sermon. Paul will be sharing his sermon that he developed after attending this workshop. I asked Paul if he wanted to share his bio with us. He replied that no, not at any length, but Paul's wife, Christine, thinks you all should know that Paul earned both a master's and a PhD in political science from Tulane University in New Orleans. We're also happy to have Colleen Brewer filling in as our pianist today while Misha takes a few weeks off. We are so lucky to have such hidden talent in the congregation. Welcome to both Paul and Colleen. We have several announcements today. One is that there will be an all-church cleanup on Saturday morning, August 13th, in 2 weeks, from 9 until noon. Roy Brake says we need to get our nest in order in anticipation of the new minister arriving. We'll focus our work in the area behind the church. Special attention will be given to the compost area and the garden area. Come out and see what you can do to help. You don't have to work all 3 hours. You can contact Joel Bailey or Colleen Brewer if you want additional information. Let's not leave this job up to, quote, someone else. Depending on the weather, don't let the heat keep you away because there is always cleaning to do inside the building as well. Della Purdon would like us to know that she is organizing a first aid CPR certification class. Would you know what to do if there was an emergency here at church? Della will be taking sign-ups in the lobby and can provide you with more information about the duration and the setup of the class. So Della is here. Della, would you wave to all? Okay. Please now gather yourselves and enter into a spirit of community and worship with our musical prelude. Thank you, Colleen. In the words of Robert French Levins, our call to worship is this: holy and beautiful, the custom which brings us together in the presence of the Most High, to face our ideals, to remember our loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to make confession, to offer forgiveness, to be enlightened, and to be strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of ages, the cathedral music of history. 3 unseen guests attend: faith, hope, and love. Let our hearts prepare them a place. I invite you to stand for our chalice lighting, opening hymn, and spoken affirmation. The flame within the chalice is the primary symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. We light this chalice, symbolic of the warmth of community and the brightness that love brings to the world, illuminating our search for justice and peace. Light, that force that nurtures all living things, here in our midst, in this flame, so tiny and so significant. Please now join in singing our opening hymn, number 187, It Sounds Along the Ages. affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Please be seated. Paul has a story for all ages, for the young and the young at heart.
Any takers? Okay. All righty then. Hi. I'm getting too old for this. I'm not as spry as Annie was. Okay, now this happened about, oh, hey, Ender, hi. This happened about 600, 700 years ago in far northern Japan, where it is cold most of the time, because they're up close to the Arctic Circle. Now,
is this a myth?
Well, it's a story, and then again, a myth is as good as a mile, but the story goes, it was the custom back then that any wandering monk could stay in a Zen temple and have the hospitality of the place for free if he could win a debate about Buddhism with a monk who lived there. Now, Abu was the head monk of this very small, very poor Zen temple. Most of the time, what they had to eat was noodles boiled in seawater with a seaweed side salad. Tasty, right? Now, Abu is sitting on the doorstep of the temple one morning, thinking about chicken soup. How nice it would be to afford chickens so they could have chicken soup. When he sees a wandering monk coming up the road to the temple. And the monk got closer and closer and closer. And Abu suddenly realized, it's Hirotsu, the holiest, most famous monk in all Japan. If he stays here tonight, we'll be famous. People will come. They'll bring donations, money, food, chicken. I've got to make sure he wins the debate. Who can I get? Who can I get? Gubai. Now, Gubai was the youngest monk in the whole temple. He was not the sharpest spoon in the drawer, if you know what. Well, he was stupid, okay? And he was clumsy. He was always falling down, tripping, breaking things, dropping things. And ugly as a mud fence. And he only had one eye. You may think so. Now, Abu thought, great, I'll have Hirotsu debate Gubai, and I'll have them do it in the hour of silence, so they have to do it in sign language. Gubai is sure to lose. So it was arranged, and Gubai and Hirotsu sat down in the garden to have their debate, and Abu went back to the front door to think about chicken soup. Now, and about 5 minutes later, here comes Hirotsu. He says, I had a lovely time, but I lost the debate. See you later. Abu said, Tell me what happened. He said, well, I held up one finger symbolizing the Buddha. He held up two fingers symbolizing the Buddha and his teaching. So I held up three fingers symbolizing the Buddha, his teaching, and his disciples all living together in harmony. Then he held up a fist and shook it in my face, signifying that they all arise from the same great truth. So I had no reply. I lost the debate. Bye! And he walked out the door. A few minutes later, here comes Gubai running up. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? I'm going to bust him in the mouth. What? Wait, said Abu. What happened? Well, the first thing he did was hold up one finger, mocking me for having only one eye. So I held up two fingers, congratulating him for having two eyes. Then he held up three fingers, showing that we only had three eyes between us. So I was going to hit him in the mouth, and I tripped on my robe and fell down, and he got away. Where'd he go? Oh, where'd he go? And then the dinner bell rang, and Abu went off to have a supper of noodles boiled in salt water with a seaweed side salad. The end. So what do we learn from that? Very good. Many people have very different perspectives. Okay. Yes, never get into a debate with a one-eyed monk. That's a good idea. But, well, I don't know. It comes from a whole book of stories called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, which I have read my copy to pieces and just had to buy a new one. But I think it shows the importance of communicating clearly with each other when we are trying to explain ourselves. Like, what's the difference between a duck?
A duck and what?
No, neither of its legs are both the same.
A duck and what? The difference between a duck and what?
Well, see, that's poor communication. So, okay, you win this debate. Okay, let's sing the children back to wherever it is they want to be.
Paul, want a hand?
I got
Give
it.
you a hand. As we leave this friendly place, love give light to every face. May the kindness which we learn light our hearts till we return. Our congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with membership open to all who are in accordance with our principles, mission, and vision. We are an independent member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is an association of approximately 1,000 congregations in this country and elsewhere in the world. Our congregation is entirely self-governed and financially supported by the voluntary generosity of our members and friends. This support comes to us in many ways through your donations of time, talent, and money. Your contributions will benefit the missions of our church and also as an outreach to the larger community as a part of our Share the Plate program. Last week, We mailed a check to our most recent Share the Plate recipient, the TLC, or the Tarrant Literacy Coalition. Our donation to them was a little over $1,000, and they are very grateful for our gift. And Carl just handed to me a thank you card that we received from them, and I'd like to read it to you. Dear friends, on behalf of all the adult learners in our county, thank you for your immense generosity. Whether it's gifting a book to a low literate adult, training a volunteer, helping tutor math so a single mom can pass the GED exam, your collective gift is central to a better life and a brighter community. Thank you all. With warmest regards, Wes Young of the Tarrant Literacy Coalition. Now, our designated recipient this month, August and September, is the Eastside Community Assistance Agency here in Fort Worth. Please give generously. To this end, there will be an offering to sustain the work of this beloved community. Will the ushers please come forward? We honor our time together with the shared stories and news from the congregation. Each week there is a journal outside the entrance to the sanctuary where you can write a message of memory or hope. Also, at any time during our service, you're welcome to come forward and light a candle in our meditation center here at the side of the chancel. We focus our thoughts today on the many people in the world who face floods, drought, fires, and war. We turn our thoughts as well to those seeking refuge in another country, to those who are burdened by sickness, hunger, and pain, by sorrow and anxiety, violence, and loss. We pause this morning to share our care for these people and also for those closer to home about whom we are concerned. We don't have any stories that have been added to our book of memory and hope today. May the warmth of this community extend to all who are rejoicing or hurting in our wider world. The stories that live in this community are cherished, even when unshared, as we keep one another in mind during the week ahead. In the words of the singer-songwriter Annie Lennox, how are you today? Are you managing to stay on track and keep your mojo working? What a time it is to be alive, right here, right now. Which country are you in? Which town, city, village? Wherever you are, take a moment for one slow inhalation and exhalation. The breath of life is our core foundation. Let's not take it for granted. We'll not have a musical interlude this morning. Instead, we invite you to settle into your seats for a few moments of silent meditation and personal reflection.
morning. Or as my grandfather would have said, good Shabbos. Congregation of Immigrants. You can look at any UU community in this neck of Texas, and odds are you are not going to find anyone who was born in, raised in, and continues to be in the Unitarian Universalist Church. If you do, hang on to them, they're scarcer than hen's teeth. Now, our little church on the prairie is no exception. We are a congregation of immigrants. But we are immigrants looking for what? Some of us came here because the faith we were raised in or the church we were attending no longer resonated with that something that we are looking for in our spiritual lives. Others of us may have come from less happy places for less happy reasons. But after searching a while, we wound up here. We may stay here. Some of us may move on. Now, we've sought out a new wellspring for our spirituality. And we've found whatever that missing piece was here. Many of us come out of the Christian tradition, and in that Christian tradition, there are authoritarian churches that have a tendency to intrude on issues of intimacy and conscience and impose absolute obedience to their approved creed. As a result, some Unitarian Universalists can be downright suspicious of anything that smacks of Christianity. Any overt or positive mention of Jesus or his teachings might be deeply resented or vigorously opposed. Even passing mentions of words like church can set those UU antenna a-quivering. To say the least, this is ironic because, first of all, the Judeo-Christian faith culture is a central pillar of all Western civilization. And second, because a plain fact of history is that Unitarianism and Universalism are both Christian in origin and content. I pause to let that sink in a minute. Now, don't run for the exits. As Ricky Ricardo would say, I can explain. Take Universalism. First, over time, Universalism has emerged as a movement in most of the world's religions, Eastern and Western. Universalism has even reared its liberal head in Reform Judaism, where it is deeply unpopular with many rabbis and theologians as it challenges the entire concept of a chosen people. First, formally named and recognized as a distinct species of Christianity around 1755 in England, Universalism is actually much older. 2 Christian bishops of Alexandria, round about the year 120, Clement and his successor Origen, preached Universalism, that all are welcome, all are accepted, all are equal in the eyes of God. And they cited as their authorities passages from the 4 Gospels, as well as from the epistles of Peter and James, and the letters of my favorite misogynist curmudgeon and namesake, St. Paul. Although condemned in 325 at the Council of Nicaea as heresy and suppressed, Universalism continued to ferment within the early church, emerging now and then as movements on the fringes of Orthodox Christianity and in hierarchical societies, which was very offensive to kings and autocrats. It would show up particularly in connection with issues of social order and social justice, until at last coming into its own during the Age of Enlightenment in England, where it got some elbow room. Although commonly believed to have arisen in Eastern Europe in the mid-1500s, Unitarianism is, safe to say, generally acknowledged to be both the oldest and the original form of Christianity. Its theology, in simple terms, God is one, and Jesus, while a remarkable moralist, teacher, martyr, and prophet, was just a man. No relation to the Almighty by blood or marriage or adoption. No surprise there, the Jesus movement, as it is sometimes called, grew out of the Jewish synagogue and the rabbinic Judaism, and the core belief there is expressed in the prayer, Shema Israel, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And let the record note that I speak Hebrew just like a native Texan. The Christology which followed over the next 3.5 centuries was gradually corrupted by mistranslations, Messiah becoming Christos, by the vivid imagination and didactic impulses of early gospel authors. The oldest surviving scrap of the New Testament is a tattered piece of the Gospel according to Mark that was written 200 plus years after the death of Jesus. Prior to that, both biblical scholars and amateurs like myself believe there was a robust oral tradition of Jesus folk tales and various written versions of the sayings of Jesus, which were cobbled together to make the first Gospels. Mark was probably the first. Matthew was a slightly plagiarized version of that. Luke was constructed very late in the 2nd century, close to the year 280 or 90, we think. Orthodox Christian theology was also transformed by political necessity. The Emperor Constantine, who seized power around the year 300, needed something to hold together his polyglot empire, and he decided a state religion was the thing to do that. Now, his state religion would have 2 chief parts. First, to help encourage its acceptance by the people who were under Roman control, almost all of whom were pagans. The Christian theology was reimagined to conform more closely to principal elements of Greco-Roman pagan culture. Polytheism, a holy trinity, as opposed to one God. They borrowed Satan from Egyptian theology and Hades from Greek myth to create the devil and hell. Under this reimagining, in the place of demigods and heroes, you got apostles and martyrs and saints. Deities mating with humans, common in paganism. Mary, the mother of Jesus, is promoted to Mary, the mother of God. Jesus becomes not the son of Mary, but the son of God. Resurrection appeared in various pagan cults, the most popular of which is Mithras. Mithras was the unconquered sun, S-U-N, sun. Playing off of that, Jesus, through his resurrection, becomes the unconquered S-O-N, son. Second, Constantine created a church structure that aped the institutional structure of the Roman imperial government to work in tandem with that government to assert administrative and cultural control through a Roman administrative culture. This was begun at the Council of Nicaea, which was convened by Constantine in 325 and consolidated in the Council of Constantinople, which was brought together by the Emperor Theodosius in 381. Recognizing Unitarian Universalism originating as a Christian sect is coming back into vogue in many U.S., Canadian, and some Western European congregations where it has been dubbed, unfortunately, biblical Unitarian Universalism. What is it with us and really long, complicated names? Anyway, the parables of Jesus, as well as other New Testament writings, once perceived and intolerant and dismissed as divisive, are increasingly being mined for grounding elements of Unitarian Universalist principles and beliefs. Open acceptance of everybody. Jesus preached that. He got along with Samaritans. He even got along with his Roman oppressors, up to a point, and forgave them when he didn't. You look at Unitarian principles, and you can find echoes of the Sermon on the Mount, what they called in Sunday school the Beatitudes. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are the merciful. Blessed are those who seek justice. We'll also find bits from the Ten Commandments, the book of Micah in the Old Testament. Do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with your God. All of that fits in very nicely with Unitarian Universalist principles. Christian-centric thought and teachings are again playing a significant role in Sunday services, RE, social justice initiatives of today's Unitarian Universalist congregations. They are also providing us with common ground for greater cooperation, understanding, and bonding with other Christian sects. The more liberal Christian sects, there's some that still don't want anything at all to do with us. But to not understand ourselves in the context of our Christian history is to not fully know our chosen faith. So anyway, if this sounded like a dry academic lecture, you can blame it on my PhD. Holding a PhD in political science obviously qualifies me to preach a sermon in church. But for right now, I hope I've given you some entertainment and something to think about. And will you please join in singing our closing hymn, number 66, When the Summer Sun is Shining and We Wish It Would Rain.
Colleen is going to play through the tune one time since it's a newer hymn for us that we're not super familiar with. When the summer sun is shining over the golden land and sea, and the flowers in the hedgerow come butterfly and bee, then my open heart is glowing, full of warmth for everyone, and I feel an inner beauty which reflects the summer sun. When the summer clouds of thunder bring the long-awaited rain, and the thirsty soil is moistened, and the grass is green again, then I long for sunshine, but I know that clouds and tears are a part of life's refreshment, like the rainbow's hopes and fears. In the cool of summer evening, when the dancing insects play, and in garden, street, and meadow linger echoes of the day, then my heart is full of yearning hopes, and memories flood the whole of my being, reaching inwards to the corners of my soul. We extinguish the chalice here so that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. As we leave today, may we know that we are kin with every soul, every star, every stone and leaf of grass. And may our words be gentle and our touch be kind. Blessed be. The service has ended. All are welcome to join us for refreshments and conversation in the library directly in the rear of the sanctuary.